At Mark's concert, who's a top idol. As his girlfriend, I made a dramatic entrance in a wedding dress. But Mark suddenly jumps off the stage and kisses a fan. Fans speculated he might be on some secret mission. Yet, Mark just sneered from afar, saying, "It's just a marketing trick, really thought too highly of yourself. The girl I like should be pure, like a camellia." Soon, the whole internet was mocking me for being shameless, wearing a wedding dress to force a marriage. Everyone wished him happiness with his lover. Meanwhile, I was caught up in scandals, slipping into depression. Eventually, I leaped from a hotel rooftop. Living again, I showed up in a wedding dress at his concert. Mark sneered, "Don't you have any shame?" This time I held my dress and laughed back. "Who said I dressed for you?" I ripped off the dress and ran towards the boy who had always been by my side. Mark anxiously grabbed me. "Karina, didn't you say you'd stay with me till the end?" An hour before the concert started. I sat quietly in a nanny van, wearing a pristine white wedding dress, my makeup perfect. My assistant, Selena, hesitated beside me, saying, "Karina, are you sure about announcing your relationship with Mark at his concert? It'll cause a huge uproar." I snapped my eyes open, looking at myself in the rear-view mirror. Veil on the head, custom wedding gown, a bright smile on my face. Am I back? Is this the day I confessed to Mark at his concert? In the past, I wore a wedding dress to Mark's concert. Because he told me days prior, he wanted to surprise me at the concert's end. Everyone speculated he would propose to me. Even the organizers prepped the stage, sending over the wedding dress. After all, we'd been together for 5 years. When Mark debuted, he was a trainee in our company. I noticed him immediately, helping him debut, sharing my resources, and guiding him in the industry. Back then, I made no secret of my feelings for him. It was known throughout the circle, yet I kept the media in check. Mark didn't disappoint. He did propose in the middle of the show. Just not to me. I turned, looking at my assistant, Selena. With her bangs, big clear eyes, and features that weren't standout in the entertainment world full of beautiful faces. But that not-so-special face secretly hooked up with Mark behind my back for God knows how long. Even moving Mark to rush into the spotlight as soon as he became a top idol, openly proposing to her. Yes. In my past life, Mark jumped off the stage and kissed a fan. That pure as camellia fan was Selena. I shut my eyes again. Thinking back, I excitedly shared with those around me while wearing the wedding dress. Selena was the first person I shared with. She must have mocked me inwardly then, viewing me as a clown, so self-absorbed. I hadn't yet come to terms with the impact of dying. The van was already being tapped on. Fans' deafening cheers could be heard outside. An organizer's staff peeked in. "Karina, are you ready? It's almost time for the surprise segment. The stage lights are all set. I've been reborn." No need to repeat the joke from the past life. I was ready to say they didn't need to set up for me and that I wasn't coming. But Selena opened the van door loudly. "Karina will be out soon, don't rush us." Her loud announcement caught the attention of fans outside. Many recognized me, taking out their phones to snap photos. I sneered, giving Selena a sidelong glance. What I didn't notice in my past life, I see clearly now. She's determined to embarrass me. I raised my head towards the staff. "Will Ben be there this time?" Not knowing why I asked, the staff hesitated. "Ben is your close friend, he'll certainly be there to congratulate you in such an event." "All right then, have him come and get me." I took a deep breath, grabbed my dress train, and stepped out. Even if I go back now, it's too obvious. So many people know Mark will propose and make our relationship public. The brewing public opinion would still work against me later. But there might be another way. I took my phone back from Selena. My Facebook account is usually managed by her. If she wants to mess with me, it was easy for her. I got on message, sent Ben a message. Need help, can you cooperate with me later? The last message was a month ago. I told him I planned to announce my relationship with Mark at his concert. He never replied but silently hosted Mark's concert. I know though. He'll definitely see this. Wearing a wedding dress drew quite a lot of attention. But with the lights dimmed on stage, not many recognized me. I was seated front row below the stage, just like last time. Mark's flamboyant silver hair shone under the lights. He's born for the stage. Capturing everyone's attention effortlessly. After a dance number, he looked over my way, slightly out of breath. His eyes deep and affectionate. But I already knew, he wasn't looking at me at all. Giving a signal, the emotional tune began. Next song, I want to dedicate to someone. She's been by my side since debut, silently giving. No more words, it's all in the song. Fans erupted in cheers. I couldn't help but twitch my lips, looking around, distracted. Ben wouldn't really not show up, right? As Mark's love song neared its end, he looked over at me, with a tinge of disdain. Then he casually dropped the mic. With one hand supporting the stage edge, he jumped down, making his way over to me. And the one I waited for didn't show. With the spotlight shining bright on us, I could no longer sit idle. Just seconds before Mark reached me, I abruptly climbed onto the stage, grabbing the mic he had discarded. Hey, can you hear me? Just as Mark was ready to embrace Selena, he froze in place. All the fans were looking at me up on the stage. Though I debuted as an idol, I'd been off the stage for years, moving to the big screen. Speaking in front of thousands for the first time in 5 years, my palms were a bit sweaty. Today marks the last of Mark's concert tour. As Mark's senior, his friend in the industry, I'm honored to be invited as a guest. Also, I thank him for giving me this chance for what I'm about to do to be a surprise act at this concert. Mark, who was pretty surprised a second ago, suddenly narrowed his eyes. Even though things weren't going according to his plan, he was sure I was head over heels for him. He figured I'd confess my love to him next. His eyes had this hint of disdain and mockery. I scanned the crowd, searching for someone among the fans. But I couldn't spot the person I was looking for. Meanwhile, fans were buzzing with speculation. They wondered why I showed up wearing a wedding dress. Was this some kind of proposal stunt? A leading idol revealing a relationship is always a huge deal. Especially since proposal concerts have become trendy in recent years. Mark flashed a big smile and secretly held Selena's hand, standing beside him. Selena shyly lowered her head. My heart hurt a bit, but I kept it together and said, "Are you all curious why I'm in a wedding dress? I'm here to propose to someone. But he's not great with words and kinda stubborn, so here I am, taking a chance." Mark had just taken the microphone handed to him by a staff member. He seemed to get what I was up to, smirking like he was about to shut me down immediately. "Will you marry me, Ben?" I asked. "I don't," Mark started to say, but his words trailed off. He shot me a sharp look, trying to process what I just said. I calmly repeated myself. The audience erupted in shock and started talking all at once. Fans breathed a sigh of relief once they realized I wasn't confessing to their idol. Still, they were curious about who Ben was. Mark finally caught on. His face turned a shade of anger, and he tried to get back on stage, even as Selena held his hand. He shook her off and ran towards me. "Karina, are you nuts? Do you know what you're saying?" he asked, obviously trying not to speak into the microphone. I just gave him a slight smirk, looking at him with calm eyes. The place went silent. Just when I thought he wouldn't show up. A deep, resonant voice came from behind. "Is this the surprise you promised me?" I turned around to see him standing there in a sharp, tailored suit. The lights above cast a shadow on his elegant features. With total confidence, he walked over to me. Suddenly, the stage lights focused on the three of us. It felt straight out of a dramatic love triangle. Before I could speak, Mark stood between us, scoffing skeptically at me. What's your game here? Trying to make me look bad? Mark always had this cocky attitude when talking to me, acting as if I owed him something. In my past life, I saw this as genuine, thinking he was pursuing me purely, not for my status. Back then, that seemed rare in showbiz. Now I see I was the fool. Look bad? What are you talking about? I should be thanking you for this opportunity. Consider it your surprise gift. You happy now? I shot him a beaming smile. I vividly remembered the aftermath of that concert in my last life. After the concert, rumors exploded online. Mark kisses female fan at concert, relationship rumors swirl. Karina wears wedding dress to concert, proposal fails. Social media went wild. Fans kept demanding an explanation from Mark. He just shyly smiled and left the stage holding that girl's hand. As he walked past me, he dropped this bomb. Wearing a wedding dress to a concert, Karina? Really? How low can you go? Low, huh? He didn't even spare me a glance. I was left to fend off the press alone. They bombarded me. Karina, can you comment on the rumors? Did Mark make it official? Was that girl his real girlfriend? Were you deluded? Was Mark cheating, or was it all your publicity stunt? Karina, speak on it. Did you initiate these rumors? Did you ever think you'd get caught? Thoughts on your wedding dress? A failed proposal, how does that feel? I watched that dazzling guy walk off with that girl in his arms. The media wouldn't quit. I was furious, devastated. But quickly, more rumors circulated. Allegations of tax evasion and shady contracts. My reputation was tarnished overnight. Mark cut ties with my studio, a move that only fueled the gossip about me being guilty. Hit with massive breach fees and brand cancellations, I was buried under debts. The previous life's events painted me into a corner. Mark and Selena's scheming left me no escape. I met a tragic end. And now, he asks if I seek to embarrass him. Knowing his career will crumble. Can I even say that out loud? Anger flashed across Mark's face. He reached to grab me, but a slender hand stopped him. Ben shoved Mark aside and pulled me into his arms. He looked at Mark with a playful smile. Sorry for the ruckus. If anything affects you negatively, I'll bear full responsibility. I clung to Ben, burying my head in his chest. He grabbed my mic, lowered his voice. As for marrying you, I'd be delighted. Confetti burst into the air, and cheers erupted below. Nobody expected such a juicy scoop with just a concert ticket. A top star announcing her relationship at an idol's gig. And she's the one proposing. I stole a glance at Mark. He was shocked, couldn't believe it. But his look hardened, and he snagged the mic from Ben. I've got something to announce too. Before Mark could finish, Ben and I left the stage. We passed through the crowd of fans. Whatever Mark tried to say didn't reach me. Probably just announcing his thing with Selena. But what's that to me now? Leaving the concert, Ben didn't take me to my usual car. Instead, he put me in his Benz's passenger seat. If we'd been any slower, the press would have descended. He lit a cigarette, staying silent. I was thrilled just moments ago. I got back at Mark. I announced my romance without any ties to him. But Ben didn't say a word, and it made me nervous. Ben's been my friend since we were kids. We grew up next door. His family was well off. When I told him I was entering the entertainment world, he snorted, "Someone like you? You'd be a disaster for viewers." But then, he went and started his own company, promoting others against me. So we were fierce rivals. In the last life, when he heard about my plans with Mark, he booked a flight overseas that night. By the time he returned, my reputation was in shambles, and I was battling depression. In my darkest days, Ben stood by me. When I was at the top of the roof, ready to jump, he stood there, crying, begging me not to. He said he'd help with my debts if I just stayed alive. It wasn't until I died that I realized how deeply Ben felt for me. Will you say something? Even if it's to scold me, just don't stay silent. Brooding doesn't suit you. I couldn't look him in the eye, feeling sheepish. Ben paused, almost burning his hand with the cigarette. He put it out, frowning. What's up with you tonight? Weren't you desperate to marry Mark? I was out of my mind before, but I'm all cleared up now. Can't I? I replied. He looked at me with a sparkle in his eyes. So, proposing to me was just out of spite? I stared at him without saying anything. He casually said, I get it. Just trying to spite him, right? Fine, I'll cover for you this time. Just find a time to break up with me later. Before he could finish, I suddenly stood up and kissed him on the corner of his mouth. He was so surprised he didn't have time to react. After a while, he finally looked down and chuckled. Karina, are you sure you want to mess with me? Me, yes, I'm sure. I didn't explain my actions to Ben. Sooner or later, the elephant in the room had to be addressed. He then asked, are you in some trouble you need my help with? With our years of understanding, Ben easily guessed I was in a fix. I hesitated, fearing if I said I was reborn, he might call me crazy. Yeah, I need your help. Social media's gonna be crazy soon, so I need you to support my announcement. And also, not long after Mark's concert incident in the past life, I was reportedly caught sneaking out with a famous director, entering a hotel together, with rumors of using my body for career advancement. The photos from last month were just from a friend's gathering, twisted by someone with an agenda. The only person with me then was my assistant, Selena. She probably took the photos and leaked them to the media. Even though I had nothing to hide, the scandal was troublesome to handle. I told Ben the truth. I needed him to dig into Selena's connections. It was unlikely she could create such a media storm on her own, and Mark's network wasn't that deep either. Sure enough, by that evening, social media was almost crashing. One trending story after another came up. The top one was me proposing to Ben, the famous entertainment CEO. I expected the next would be Mark announcing his relationship with Selena, but there was nothing of that sort. Instead, Mark had said, Karina, you owe me an explanation, which followed right after the top trending topic, sparking a wave of speculation. Citizens poured into our social media accounts. Due to Mark's statement, everyone speculated if I was cheating and had crashed his concert. It was like what used to happen. Even if I hadn't been publicly humiliated by a proposal rejection, there were people ready to nail me down. Soon, photos surfaced of Mark visiting my movie set, our trips abroad, accompanied by timelines proving I was cheating with Ben. The whole tide turned bad. Just when I was about to contact the company's PR, my studio's official social account accidentally liked a post about my supposed affair and quickly cancelled it. But a screenshot was captured, solidifying the rumor. If memory served, this studio account was run by several people, Selena included. She had the password. Clearly, she was peeved about not being acknowledged officially. I immediately contacted the studio to suspend Selena from all duties. First, confirm she's behind it, then we'll find out who else is involved. The next day, I gathered all the staff for a meeting. Selena approached me, her eyes red. Karina, are you firing me? What did I do wrong? I gave her a cold laugh. Wrong? Aren't you clear what wrong you've done? Accidentally liking a tweet? Not being publicly acknowledged, Selena pretended ignorance, biting her lip, defending, the studio account is managed by several people. Why do you suspect only me? It could have been anyone. Propping my chin on my hand, I watched her performance. No need to suspect. Check the IP address. It's really simple to see where it was logged in. Selena's face drained of color, her knees weak as if she might kneel. Karina, I'm sorry. It wasn't on purpose. I was just angry when I saw those posts and tapped it unintentionally. Please forgive me. I ignored her, letting her remain on her knees. Just then, the office door burst open with a kick. Mark stormed in, upon sight of Selena kneeling, raised an eyebrow and quickly pulled her to her feet, protectively standing in front of her. Karina, have you lost it? What did I ever do to you? If you're so pissed, take it out on me, don't drag others into it. I raised an eyebrow, smiling at him. You're sure you didn't offend me? Mark, didn't you ask for an explanation from me? He looked at me, brows furrowed, taking a deep breath, trying to act all understanding. I get it now. You're mad jealous from last time, huh? I've explained before. Selena stumbled in the dressing room, and I carried her to get treated. Can you stop being so paranoid? This was just a small thing, but you had to propose to Ben at my concert, leaving me so embarrassed. This isn't over between us. I stared at him, wondering how I could have ever liked such a jerk in my past life. Mark, do you think I'm an idiot? He didn't realize what I was getting at. I merely mimicked his actions from last time, humiliate him in public, yet he couldn't take it? I'll give you two choices: terminate your contract and apologize on social media, say the concert was a misunderstanding, then get out with Selena. Mark looked like I had gone mad, squinting dangerously. What are you talking about? You're not doing this out of spite, you really want to break up with me? I said, do you really want me to spill your dirty laundry? Mark and Selena went rigid at my words, exchanging frantic glances. I sighed, hitting the keyboard, turning the screen towards them. There was a surveillance video. If it weren't for Ben reminding me, I'd have forgotten. Seeing they were scheming right under my nose, evidence had to exist. A little digging on my part, and sure enough, I found it. Even more, the whole studio knew except for me. Selena clung to Mark's waist in the video, and he turned to kiss her. They lingered, unwilling to part. Selena's face went pale, Mark's expression soured. After a while, he said, I can explain this. Don't want to hear it. Leave. I pressed my temples, feeling nauseous. Explain what? That their lips have magnets? Mark just stared, then agreed, fine, I'll terminate. I'll post on social media too. Just don't release the video. I half-heartedly agreed. Mark swiftly brought in a lawyer to draft the termination. But first, I watched him post, apologies for the fun at the concert. As Karina's longtime friend, I'm thankful for her support and sincerely wish her happiness. Please don't overthink, causing her trouble. After posting, Mark glared at me, eyes red. Post it as you wanted. Happy now? I looked at him with a playful smile and glanced at Selena, who hadn't said a word behind him. Aren't you going public with Selena? Looks like your little lover is pretty disappointed. Maybe she's waiting for your big announcement. Selena seemed to be caught off guard by my words. Her face turned even paler as she reached out to grip Mark's hand. Mark shot me a glare. Karina, don't push it. Selena, she. Mark, I'm not feeling well, Selena interrupted, tugging on his sleeve. So, he quickly turned to support Selena as they hurriedly left the studio. Before they left, I caught that hateful look in Selena's eyes. I watched the scene without saying much and turned to send a package of surveillance footage to Ben. I wanted him to release it when the time was right. Laughable. Did he really think I'd keep my word? I'm a crazy person who's not even afraid of death. What kind of morals does he think I'd have? Mark hadn't been gone long before I let my employees post a termination letter on Facebook, waiting for public opinion to boil over. But this time, it was Ben's marketing accounts that got the ball rolling for me. Several Facebook posts in a row spun fans' heads. I figured the next wave of people trying to frame me for tax evasion would start panicking. So, I immediately called Ben and had him find a reliable accountant to check the studio's books for any missed taxes. I wanted to make sure everything was paid up. In my past life, I was obsessed with love. Apart from acting, I ignored everything else, so I was clueless when people messed with the studio. Ben worked fast. Within half an hour, he had all his financial guys over at my place. I sat with my head on his shoulder, sipping my milk tea and fiddling with recently clicked photos on my phone. Ben seemed a bit uneasy with my closeness. He stayed rigid. You're so calm. Aren't you angry about being cheated on and set up? I muttered, what's there to be angry about? I got a second chance at life. Getting angry won't help. With that, my head accidentally slipped and ended up on his lap. He quickly wrapped an arm around my shoulders. What's your plan? Make Mark vanish from the scene. If those tweets about him and Selena get out, he'll be done for. It'll clear your name too. I shrugged. Sure. Let's make him disappear from the scene. Oh, and don't forget to get my breach of contract money. I haven't forgotten last life's hospital trip. The countless nights of self-harm from depression, being driven to the brink. Ben sighed and hugged me. I'm scared this might all be a dream, he said. He glanced at me strangely, looking puzzled. You've changed a bit. My heart skipped, worried Ben might have figured something out. How so? Prettier? More charming? He chuckled, his usually serious face breaking into a rare smile. Yeah, you've changed a lot since you got your head straight. I ignored Ben as the finance team had quickly found some discrepancies. There was an unpaid tax bill from a low-budget web drama we shot earlier in the year. The director was someone Mark knew. He invited Mark to play the lead, and Mark wanted me to make a cameo for some additional buzz. So, I lowered my standards to play a supporting role. I remembered the pay being modest, but I let Mark handle it. But looking at the statement, I was shocked. It showed a $2 million payout, but the studio only got $200,000. Clearly, someone set a trap. Ben narrowed his eyes, voice cutting. I've looked into Selena's background. She's got no ulterior motives. If she pulled this off without you noticing, Mark must have nudged her. I smirked. I was so wrapped up in Mark in my former life that I overlooked all this. I dashed off to the tax office, embarrassed, to plug the tax holes. Follow the law. Don't evade taxes. Stepping in the wrong direction can ruin your career. As soon as I cleared my back taxes, someone on Facebook exposed me for tax evasion. I acted fast and quickly provided records of the repayments. Luckily, since it wasn't the end of the fiscal year, I wasn't too late. But the news had already made a splash. Even the tax bureau stepped up to clarify I hadn't evaded taxes. The situation cooled off on my end, but Mark was not doing well. Ben was already helping me fight back. Some paparazzi released a video of him kissing Selena. When it comes to top idols going public, fans flee. Surprise announcements resulting from leaks cause them to flee even more. Plus, the news just got juicier. Selena was pregnant. Photos of Mark accompanying her to a prenatal examination surfaced. An out-of-wedlock child? For a top idol, that's scandalous. The folks who accused me of cheating on Mark got shut down. Even if the rumors hadn't quieted, this was enough dirt on Mark to clear my name. Despite the sickening pang in my chest, I watched the Facebook storm vanish almost instantly. Mark hadn't had time to set up his PR team post-termination. I thought he'd seize the moment to announce something about Selena. But he stayed silent. Was he planning to wait it out? Foolish. The entertainment world moves fast. Overnight, he lost 2 million followers. Ben later told me Selena leaked the prenatal photos herself to tie Mark to her tighter. Mark found out and they had a huge fight. Their relationship was strained. The next time I saw Mark, he wasn't the star he used to be. He was crouched outside my house, red-eyed, hollow-cheeked, hugging his knees like a stray dog no one wanted. I glanced down at him, reaching for my phone. Hey, security. There's a suspicious person outside my door. Could you come up? Before I finished, Mark grabbed my phone. He reeked of alcohol, his face flushed, leaning in close, cornering me against the wall. My assistant rushed over, but I waved her off. It's fine. He can't do anything crazy. Still cautious, she left. Call if you need me. Once alone, Mark just stared, his eyes glinting in the dim light. "If you kiss me, I'll report you for harassment." I finally spoke up, my voice steady, challenging him with my eyes. He chuckled in the dark but held back from kissing me. "You trying to mock me? Like a pathetic dog?" I shook my head. "I wouldn't insult a dog. That's rude. You still have a sharp tongue. So, how should I deal with you? Gentle? Kind?" Mark just looked at me quietly. "Have you seen everything online?" "Yeah, accidentally got online." "What if I told you that kid isn't mine?" I was starting to get impatient, but that caught me off guard. Then I just stared at him mockingly. "Only you know if it's yours." "But what's that to me?" "Mark, you cheated first. What's the point of saying this now? Want me to let you off easily?" Mark stayed quiet for a moment, then said, "That video isn't what you think. I was drunk and thought she was you. I never betrayed you." I burst out laughing, arms crossed, staring at him. "That's a pretty wild excuse. Did I force you to kiss her? 3 drinks and you're crying. Your acting is better than I thought." This wasn't about a drunken kiss. It was about how he humiliated me at a concert in the past. I had no intention of getting tangled with him again. Seeing security approaching, I opened the door to go inside. He blocked me again. "Karina, didn't you say you'd be with me till the end?" Hearing this, I got angry out of nowhere and slapped him. "Mark, are you cheap? Looking for trouble here, huh? How many times do you want to fool me? Just wanted to embarrass me at a concert while announcing your relationship with Selena, right? You have your chance, why waste it?" I was furious, never seen someone so shameless. Mark stood there, pondering how I knew. After letting it out, I calmed down. "Didn't expect I knew, huh?" Mark lowered his head, said little, with a bitter smile. "You knew it all, didn't you? I had no choice. Even if you hate or despise me, just don't be with Ben." I sneered at him. "What right do you have to say that?" He looked at me. "He's not who you think he is. He'll do anything to have you. And what are you, a saint?" The security had reached the door by then. Along with them, stood Ben behind. He stood quietly, in the dark, not sure for how long. The security politely asked Mark to leave. Seeing Ben, Mark's eyes turned wild. "Karina, trust me." Mark left with the security. I entered my place. Ben followed, slipping into his shoes naturally, like he belonged. I pretended as if nothing happened and offered him coffee or water. He sat on the couch, glanced at me. "Coffee late at night, not planning to sleep?" I chuckled. "Coffee, the lifeline of us working folks." Ben took the water. He had a sip, then pulled me into his arms. He held me tightly. I pushed him away. "Why are you here?" "I've an arrangement with security. Anything happens, I'm notified first." I muted my emotions, hiding them inside. He said calmly, "Next time, call me first if anything like this happens." "Okay." Ben spoke again, softly. "Mark wasn't wrong. I'm not a good guy. Anyone trying to take you away will pay." "What kind of price?" "Disgrace, tragic downfall?" I still smiled at him. Ben seemed surprised, frowned, as I stood from his lap, bent down, and patted his cheek. "Just kidding, don't take it seriously." He finally relaxed, softening his tone. "Can I stay tonight?" Ben fell asleep beside me. He wrapped his arms around my waist, resting his head on my back. I nudged him, but he didn't budge, sleeping deeply. Nothing happened, he didn't touch me. Unexpectedly. I lowered my gaze, got out of bed and picked up his phone, entering the code easily. It was my birthday, didn't even need to think. I opened his social apps, scrolled until I found what I needed. His chat with Selena. I took screenshots of their conversations, sent them to my phone. Then lit a cigarette. Glanced at the half-drunk glass of water Ben had added some sleeping pills in there. Like Mark said, Ben wasn't innocent either. When the scandal hit, it was early fall. Next thing I knew, winter was near. People had moved on from the top idol's announcement and the proposal at a singer's event. Mark seemed to vanish. Rumors said he was blacklisted. It was true. Despite being a top idol, he couldn't fight capital. Selena stepped forward, exposing her chats with Mark. Voicemails revealed Mark asked Selena to abort the child. The top idol became gossip again. Selena, with all the buzz and backing from capital, shot to fame. She was rumored to be in talks for some web series. Mark paid off all penalties, all his earnings drained. Rumored to leave the industry. Also heard he left New York. Before leaving, he found me, struggling to speak. Karina, if I say I was set up, would you believe? Does it matter if I did? Mark gave a bitter smile, left NYC with his suitcase, heading home. Day before Christmas, Ben went dress shopping with me. Our wedding set for next spring. I chose a black wedding dress. He frowned, why black? I smiled. Remember the stray cat we found? Pure black, smooth fur, but its paws were pink. Ben watched me, lit a cigarette. Through the smoke, he squinted, trying to read me. Later, we picked out pricey wedding rings. He promised the grandest wedding. I smiled, didn't reply. Thinking. This winter's cold, should spark a fire to warm up. After closing my studio, I joined Ben's company. Owned 35%, with 20% as my bride price. I became the second largest shareholder after Ben. With future memories, invested in projects poised to explode. Profits flowing in. I've been keeping Ben very happy lately. He's been sharing insider info with me right away and doesn't mind me getting involved in his business. Meanwhile, Selena's been skyrocketing in her career, landing a role in a hit TV series. She's moved up the ranks to become a famous new actress. I've watched all this unfold, chuckled, and didn't say much. When New Year's countdown was rolling in, I had a movie premiere coming up. I invited Ben to an early screening. When the movie ended, I turned to him and said, "Ben, it's so cold this winter. I'll send you some warm clothes when you go in." He squinted at me and laughed softly. "What nonsense are you talking about now?" Just as he finished speaking, a few uniformed officers entered the theater and politely asked him to come with them for an investigation. Ben turned to me, shocked, but soon regained his composure. He reached out, grabbed my neck, pulled me close, and whispered with a low chuckle, "No wonder I thought something's off about you. Karina, when did you start this scheme?" I blinked and gave him a bright smile. From the moment I died. Later, the long-dormant trends on social media blew up again. The famous entertainment company's CEO Ben is under investigation for malicious securities manipulation. Skylar's stocks crashed immediately. I had sold all my shares long before. I was the one who reported him. With someone as arrogant and clever as Ben, how could he have just made money honestly? It wasn't hard to find out about his illegal activities. He never suspected me. Getting him caught was easy. Ben's a complete psycho and a born actor. I found this out when I was young when I saw him turn a stray cat he'd brought home into a taxidermy specimen. But when he was with me, he feigned innocence, searching anxiously through quiet streets along with me. How did I find out? Probably when I randomly visited his place and saw that massive cat taxidermy display in his basement. As a kid, that terrified me. I ran away from his house and from him. Even if I once liked him. Later, I dated Mark mainly because he reminded me of Ben. Ben had a strong possessive streak. Maybe he didn't like that cat because it wouldn't let him hold it. That made me the cat refusing his touch, almost becoming a specimen myself. In this new life, there's one thing I haven't mentioned. In my past life, when I was severely depressed, Ben was by my side. And when I jumped off the building, Ben was there too. Let me think. Why did I decide to jump? I think it happened because one night I got up and overheard him, whispering on the phone by the window. Later, I checked his call history secretly. The person he was talking to was Selena. Selena and Ben never had any interaction. Why would he be talking to her? I kept mulling this over. How did Mark, with his not-so-bright mind, manage to dig such big holes for me, ruining my life? And how did Selena, a small-town girl trying to make it by as an entertainment industry assistant, manage to leak so much dirt about me? How did she orchestrate dodging a hefty tax penalty that led to my downfall? Ben, who loved me for years, suddenly went abroad during my lowest point. Why would he stand by and let everything happen? He had the power of capital, he was the capital. Unless it was all orchestrated by Ben. Selena was used to drive a wedge between Mark and me. Getting someone to spill the beans wasn't hard. Just some money was enough for Selena to talk. Plus, now that I'd become part of the capital, she didn't hesitate to sell out her boss. When I met up with Selena, she was in good spirits, showing no signs of pregnancy. She stirred her coffee and mocked, "Mark is such a fool." I told him I was pregnant with his child, that if he didn't make it public, I'd keep the baby and ruin him. I squinted at her. And he just caved to that? Selena was just a pawn. She got Mark drunk, and he didn't control himself, so she ended up pregnant with his child. Then she constantly used the scandal to threaten Mark into breaking up with me. Mark refused, trying multiple times to get her to end the pregnancy. Selena had no choice but to play her trump card, revealing photos of me and some exec entering a hotel together. Yes, I went in and out of that hotel but never slept with anyone. But Mark believed it. I thought people believed I got ahead by using my body, and decided to get back at me. That's why I said Mark doesn't have the smarts to set me up. Everything was planned from the start. They pushed me to the edge, made me leave Mark, ruined my reputation, broke my spirit, and trapped me. Just like that stray cat that could never escape Ben. This whole thing was Ben's scheme. Ben's love is about possession, destruction, and if he can't have it, he'll destroy it. I went from being shattered to hopeless. Those I trusted betrayed me, those I loved abandoned me, and those who loved me manipulated me. What do I have left to lean on in this world? Ben asked when I set the trap. I didn't lie to him. It was at the moment of my death. He has never died, so he might not know that right at death, time slows to a crawl. I saw the movie of my life play out. I figured out what I didn't understand before. After I was reborn, I decided to draw him into the trap, using myself as bait. And I succeeded. There are even more powerful people behind Ben. He hasn't been in the industry long, yet he's made a name for himself. It's all thanks to those backing him. If he suddenly fell, saving him wouldn't be hard for them, if he were still useful to them. But he wasn't anymore. Later, I found out he was sentenced to 5 years. It seemed light, probably because his family pulled some strings. After his second trial, I went to see him. He stared at me, and his gaze wasn't the calm facade it used to be. It was sinister, intense, a destructive madness. We sat in silence for 10 minutes. When I finally got up to leave, he slowly crossed his hands and said, "I never did anything wrong. Give me another chance, and I'd keep you by my side forever from that night when you were 17. I turned to leave. Since fate gave me another chance, why should I keep being a hopeless romantic? Can't a person be happy alone? 3 years later, after leveraging what I got from exposing Ben, I quickly built my wealth. After winning 3 major film awards, I retired from the spotlight at 33. That year, Selena, who'd been famous for 3 years, was abandoned after a scandal. Under pressure, she stood on the rooftop where I once was and jumped. That same year, I heard from the prison that Ben had gone mad. He kept saying I died, he was wrong, he shouldn't have pushed me, and begged me not to jump. I squinted. Seems like fate gave Ben another chance too. Only this time, he successfully drove me to death again. By then, I had moved behind the scenes and established a real charitable foundation, specifically to help children in remote areas. Later, when my team visited the mountains to see the left-behind children, I unexpectedly saw Mark. He'd lost his celebrity aura, and his skin was a sun-kissed tan. I watched as he taught music in an old classroom. Someone from my team exclaimed, "He looks familiar, kind of like a celebrity." I glanced at the face I once liked and smiled. "You're mistaken. Let's go, other kids are waiting for us." The new college graduate on the team nodded in confusion, eyes shining as he looked at me. His face reminded me of the first time I met Mark.